Now that seems to be everything inside the box. If it came with a t-shirt, thank you so much TTC for giving me that. And also a lot of extra more switches over here. Also the bag, I really like the bag. But anyways, here are the specs for this magnetic switches. It does have an initial force of around 35 gram force. It has a total travel of 3.5 millimeters. It apparently lasts 100 million clicks. And of course, these are magnetic switches, so there is gonna be customizable pre-travel to as low as very low, like 0.001 millimeters, depending on the keyboard as well. And if you're interested on the initial magnetic flux and the final magnetic flux, here you go. Here's the numbers. For me personally, I really like how it sounds like. They are pretty linear, pretty silent. Their bottoms are also closed out, as you can see, which I think makes a magnetic switch sound better with that closed, because some are open. Now more specs on these switches. These are dust proof, so very nice. They're also not that wobbly. I've tested some magnetic switches that are more wobbly, but yeah, there is a little bit of wobble, but very little. That's very nice, especially if you're gonna use a magnetic keyboard around 0.1 millimeters or lower, because that might accidentally actuate that. But yeah, should be not a problem over here. Now I got the switches open over here. They're also using some type of ancient Chinese architecture. It's the mortise and tenon structure. I don't really understand it much, but I like durable and sturdy. And another thing that makes these switches unique are these switchable materials. You see this blue, dark blue part, but yeah, it's always nice to have that option to change it. But yeah, I don't know if how many people will do that. But hey, very nice option. Now another thing that makes these switches unique are the long springs. These are 21 millimeters. And normal springs like these, I opened up the magnetic white Gateron switches. As you can see, they are around 14 centimeters only. And apparently, it can give you an advantage, a huge competitive advantage in competitive games and esports games. And apparently, it should make the clicks more satisfying. Well, I'm not gonna lie, the switches does feel pretty snappy and pretty satisfying to click. So I'll give them that. There's something about the feeling when you're clicking these switches compared to other magnetic switches that does make them satisfying, definitely. I don't know, it's more satisfying to click. Here's the length of the springs side by side. But yeah, these springs feel so much faster or more aggressive on the rebound or going up, but it still feels pretty light to press. It's not hard to press. I really wish I have a slow motion camera or a way to test the response times of these switches down to the lowest milliseconds, so I can actually give you, oh, this is much faster. But even though I cannot give you the exact numbers, I'm still gonna be playing with these switches and testing it out on different keyboards. Is it really noticeable? Does it feel better when gaming with it? Faster? Does it really give you a huge competitive advantage? Let's go ahead and put these switches on a keyboard. Perfect timing. I got the Made 68 Pro sample over here. Now this sample only has the magnetic white switches as well, like these switches that I just showed you, but the mass production units will have the TTC Magnetos as well. So we can test these switches and actually hear how the Made 68 Pro will sound like when you actually get the mass production units. So let's go ahead and change these switches. So for now, I'm only gonna be switching the keys of the almost half of the keyboard only, so that we can still test the magnetic white switches and compare it side to side. So half will be the Gateron magnetic white switches and the half will be the TTC King of Magnetics. But yeah, let's go ahead and put the keycaps back on and see how it sounds like and feels like. The TTC King of Magnetics over here sounds more higher pitched. You can really notice the difference on the sound. Another big difference, I'm not gonna lie, is how it feels like. The bounce back on the TTC King of Magnetics over here is more aggressive, and I can see how it can be faster. Like the TTC King of Magnetics over here feel easy to press down, but then releasing it is so... You can feel the switches actually having the force to push it up more and faster. For me personally, I really like how the TTC King of Magnetics feel over here compared to the Gateron magnetic white switches. It just feels so much like what they said, it feels more satisfying to click on. It's just something that you cannot feel with the magnetic white switches over here by Gateron and the other magnetic switches that I've tried. The feeling is very different as well, not just the sound. Now when it comes to the sound, this will be of course personal preference, but if I'm gonna be honest, I kinda prefer the sounds of the Gateron magnetic white switches a little bit, okay? Just a little bit. But even though I like the sound of the Gateron magnetic white switches a bit more, I would still use these guys, the TTC King of Magnetic switches, just for how they feel like. Wow, that feels amazing. I would love to game with this. Now that I'm actually comparing the feel of these switches, I realize how much more snappy switches can become. Dang, bro. I would definitely recommend you guys to try it as well. But okay, enough with how this keyboard sounds like. Another factor that will change the keyboard sound and the switches sound is the actual keyboard. So let's go ahead and test some other keyboards with these switches. The TTC King of Magnetics have more of the clack. It clacks more. But yeah, on this keyboard, I actually prefer the sound of the TTC King of Magnetics. Both sound pretty good, as you've heard. Very different sounds again. But yeah, this is gonna be my own opinions and personal preference. I really like the TTC King of Magnetics feeling. I would choose it more, even though the magnetic white switches over here sound a little bit better. Let's go ahead and try gaming with these switches. Okay, I got the t-shirt over here, you know what I'm saying? Thank you again, TTC, for this t-shirt and the bag as well. Let me clarify again that this t-shirt and the bag won't come in included when you buy the switches, but if you buy more than 70 pieces of the switches, you will get 2 extra random TTC switches. But yeah, after trying and testing the TTC King of Magnetic switches over here with these keyboards, here's my experience so far. Now, first of all, does it really give you a huge competitive advantage when gaming? Well, I think it does give it an advantage, but not a huge advantage. For me personally, I don't think it's huge, but who knows, maybe you think it's huge, especially after you try it. So how can I say that it gives an advantage? Well, after trying it and testing it, especially comparing it to other magnetic switches, the rebound, I can really feel it being more snappy, faster even. But some people might not even notice the difference, and the few milliseconds might not be that huge. But still, gaming with it and using these switches felt very nice, very snappy. Not gonna lie, I think the TTC King of Magnetic switches over here are my favorite feeling magnetic switches. No matter what keyboard I used, I could really feel the snappiness and the more aggressive rebound of the TTC King of Magnetics. And for me personally, I really like it. So yeah, would I recommend these switches? Yes, it's really nice, very unique. I'm definitely gonna be switching my future magnetic keyboards with these switches, especially if I'm planning to main that magnetic keyboard, because it really gives you that snappier feeling when you're gaming and when you're typing. Whenever you're using the keyboard, it changes the feel of it. Now again, sadly, I cannot give you the milliseconds on how much faster these switches are compared to the other magnetic switches, but I can definitely see it being faster, and I can definitely feel it being more faster as well, especially to be specific on the rebound. Okay, on the rebound, I think when it comes to the actuation, it's not gonna be much faster than other magnetic switches, especially if it's set to 0.1 millimeters, because man, as with 0.1 millimeters, it doesn't matter how snappy or how long the spring you use is, it will still actuate on 0.1 millimeters whatever switch. So yeah, I don't think it will have an effect on the actuation point or the actuation speed, but on the rebound, I can see it being faster, especially on letting go of the keys. I don't think it will be a huge margin, that's why I'm not saying it's a huge competitive advantage, but it does have an advantage. I can see it having an advantage. But yeah, other than the little advantage you might get from these switches, I think the biggest selling point or the reason why you would buy these switches, because of the feeling. I really love the feeling of these switches. The words they used of more satisfying to click, it definitely was achieved over here with these switches. It felt so much more satisfying to click. But yeah, I would definitely recommend you guys to try it, the TTC King of Magnetic switches over here. But yeah, again, we all have different personal preferences, but for me, I loved these switches. I would definitely switch my magnetic keyboards to these switches or use these switches on my magnetic keyboards. Really nice. You can get them in different amounts of pieces, so if you just want to try it, you can get the like 10 pieces, I think, or the lowest amount of pieces, so you can try it. I'll be putting the link of these switches in the description and in the comments as well. If you're interested, you can go ahead and check it out over there. And a little disclaimer, these switches are sent to me by TTC, but that won't change my review of the switches, and everything that I've said in this video are all my honest opinions. Anyways, that'll be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. I pray and hope that this video helped you in some way. I'll go ahead and see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to stay grateful, guys, and remember, Jesus loves you. Bye bye.